Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
Hands above your desk, ladies and gentlemen. This video might cross over that PG-13 line right into the danger zone, or I guess in this case, the sexy zone. For a game designed for players as young as the age of 6, you wouldn't think that there would be any suggestive content, themes, art, or otherwise, and if you believe that, you definitely have never played this game, or at least seen some of the cards in their original artworks. Despite heavy censorship in the Western Hemisphere, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still a game with many racy cards and ones that would definitely qualify as oversexualized. Now, just for clarity's sake, nudity on a card, while extremely rare, doesn't automatically make something sexual. However, tight and skimpy clothing, sexually suggestive poses, or even innuendo definitely does. Without further ado, my name is MegaCapitalG, and this is the top 10 oversexualized cards, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Hierarchy. Number 10, Magi Magician Gal. Truth be told, one of my favorite XC monsters in the entire game, but I gotta admit, her artwork definitely qualifies as racy. Plump full lips, lots of skin, and of course that tight black leather. But what really seals the deal here is the fact that her artwork was loosely inspired by Dark Magician Girl. When you compare her to that, she's pretty much DMG's hot, older, sexy sister. Number 9, Vampire Vamp. If you read between the lines, it is heavily implied that Vampire Vamp is in fact a succubus. The wings, the gothic style clothing, and most notably her striking resemblance to Morgan from Darkstalkers. Now, being a succubus on its own is not necessarily enough to include her on this list, but having her sit on the bed in the artwork, well, that's going to start raising some red flags. See, succubi are essentially deemed to have sex with men to steal their souls and energy so that they can live on. So ask yourself, what exactly do you think is about to happen on that bed? Number 8, Maiden of the Aqua. I tried to keep it fairly classy with this one. She is a maiden after all, but even the most oblivious among us cannot ignore the fact that Maiden has a double D size rack. And even if you think to yourselves, oh, that's no big deal, she was just blessed with a great body. Okay, but how about the fact that she's covering her chest with nothing more than a black bra with matching fishnet stockings? I mean, I'm not one to tell people what proper battle attire is, but she won't be a maiden very long if she's dressing like that. Number 7, Elemental Hero Burstinatrix. Well, she's definitely about to burst out of something. Burstinatrix's getup is super tight, revealing, and immediately begs the question, why exactly did she pick an outfit that only covers up half her bosom? Because that popped into my mind immediately, among other things. Either way, her artwork in the TCG was heavily altered for obvious reasons and included a much less revealing costume and a far smaller chest. Number 6, Lunar Light Leo Dancer. There sure are a lot of my favorite cards up here, despite the fact that I didn't come up with this list entirely myself. Lunar Light Leo Dancer is one of my favorite monsters in the entire game, so you know it comes from a place of love when I say she is clearly dressed like a stripper, and everyone watching this video knows it. I don't know why one of the most powerful fusion monsters ever created is wearing such little clothing, but even if you ignored what she's wearing, or I guess in this case, what she isn't, how many other cards can you think of off the top of your head that have visible navel rings? Because there can't be that many, right? Number 5, Harpies, all of them. So since we're talking about strippers, would you believe me if I told you Konami made an entire archetype for them, but gave them wings to get past censorship? And yes, I know, before anybody tries to correct me, Harpies are totally a real thing in Greek and Roman mythology. Yes, I've played God of War 2, so at least this entry is, well, I mean, it's kind of true to the source material. My favorite thing about Harpies is, if you look at the OCG artworks, they resemble exotic dancers, but if you look at the TCG artworks, they look a little more like winged aerobics instructors, and yes, that is definitely a reference to Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series. Number 4, Raging Earth. Alright, so there's just no way for me to beat around the bush on this one, giggity. Raging Earth looks like a giant dick, and either I've got an extremely dirty mind, or I must be the only person who noticed this. Then again, I guess there is a third option. Konami just didn't give a crap and pushed the card out anyways. I'm pretty shocked that they were also able to get away with having a card that looks like a giant wang and putting the word raging in the title. I also have to admit that it's pretty hilarious that if you took the card's name and you took Earth out and replaced it with Boner, the context of the card wouldn't change at all. Number 3, Yugioh number 1. So here's one of those super obscure gems that you wouldn't know about unless you had somebody help you. So not only is Yugioh number 1 wearing a thong in her artwork, because that's proper battle attire apparently in Yu-Gi-Oh, but she's also the only card in the entire game that has the word pussy printed right there on the card. No, I am not making this up. Read her flavor text. Apparently she is a pussy fairy known for her lovely beauty who wears a thong. Yes, there's nothing sexual about that, folks. Number 2, Avatar of the Pot. I bet you thought that there weren't going to be any male entries on this list, and you were so wrong. Let's just say that the obvious is obvious here. Avatar of the Pot is wearing next to nothing, and don't try to tell me that the rings count as clothing, because they don't. I didn't list this card because it shows a masculine male physique. It's up here because the guy is literally wearing nothing but a loincloth covering up his junk. I mean, based on the amount of clothing that he's wearing, this guy makes Leo Dancer look like a freaking nun. Honorable mentions include Water-O-Matic, Spicy Spy, and Water Girl. Finally, to our number 1, Arlene. Arlene at first glance might seem like an odd choice for the top spots, and it may seem a little mild compared to others on this list, but it's all about the context of the card. Arlene is only one of 2 cards in the entire game that I can think of anyways that show a card completely topless. However, unlike Water-O-Matic, Arlene is obviously trying to hide the fact that she's naked and has a devilish smirk on her face as if she's saying, "You know what you want, big boy, come and get it." Being nude isn't necessarily sexual, but when you have a provocative pose like that, I mean, come on, what are we to think here? So, how do you guys think that I did with the list? Leave that in the comment section below. Also, let me know if there were any cards that I missed out on and what's your favorite sexy card. Also, a very big shout out to everybody who regularly visits my live stream who helped me put together this list. This was an incredibly difficult list to actually rank. Even as I was writing the script up for this, I was still making last minute adjustments to this just based on certain things and certain criteria. Guys, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. My apologies for missing my last live stream. If you have not subscribed, do that as well. Thank you guys for watching as always. Subscribing makes life happy.